from our technical program panel, hydrogen plants in the Green Hydrogen Hub in Ceara. Everybody can participate by writing down your questions via our QR code or our WhatsApp number that we're going to display on the screen. And now let's go on quickly to the next panel with our speakers.
So let's get back to work. Let's invite Mr. Guilherme Ricci, Business Director for White Martins Linda, Mr. Gustavo Silva, Operation Director, COO of Ceara Brazil, Mr. Mark McHugh, Legal Representative of Trans Hydrogen Alliance, Mr. Italo Freitas, Vice President of Innovation for AES Brazil, Mr. Luiz Viga, Country Manager Brazil for Fortescue Future Industries, will participate remotely. And now the moderator for this panel, Mr. Francisco de Queiroz Maia, Jr., Secretary of Economic Development and Labor of the State of Ceará, acronym SEDET. We inform to our lecturers that each one will have a time of 13 minutes to keep up rigorously inside our time. Please try to obey the time predicted, and by the last 2 minutes, I will tell you 2 minutes left. So, Mr. Maia Jr., the conduction is yours. Morning, everyone. I would like to greet this select group of entrepreneurs around me that will grant you the opportunity to tell the best news possible. This is a panel for the investors. Well, I would like to say that I will comply with my time, despite receiving, very delayed, but I will make my part. This is an event that is very important to the state of Ceará. Well, this look on, I've heard some comments about the big industries are not the only players in this process. We have room for every and each kind of industry because, well, the look as an economic secretary of a state with 600,000 companies enrolled in the official bodies, and only 2,000 are really big companies. This universe of the development. So it's paramount not to lose the chain of sight, not to lose all the process, all the companies, all those who enriched this process. So we need to keep this chain approach. It's important in the next years. I always make a cutout, 2030, 2040, 2050, and bottom line, we live with a chain of big companies that can help in the transformation and in the enrichment of the state of Ceará, because our state, we have a cause, and the cause is to get rich in an ethic way with moral commitments, supporting companies. In Ceará, it's not forbidden to receive investors, regardless the size of the investment. And it's important to remember that first company we brought in was a very small company from Australia, but took the name of our state all over the world. I've had feedback of reluctant feedback, local feedback from my peers. There was a small company, but this small company attracted the big entrepreneurs. I'm referring to Energix, an Australian company. I know all the resistance, all the reluctancy I've got to announce the first protocol of intentions on green hydrogen in our state. And our vision was to fulfill clearly the impersonality of complying with the Brazilian laws. A public manager shall be impersonal. It's not about big or small businesses. So personality is paramount. And also transparency. And amongst all the features everyone is stating about Ceara, we need to be decent, respecting the venture capital, the capital that decides to invest in our state, creating means and facilities to attract ethical companies. And I would like to thank a lot for these results so far achieved. I would like to thank all the involved. But as already said, we have a lot to do. As Monica Panik said, can make Ceara rich, but this enrichment shall occur in a way that we are capable to include the people, not only legal entities. We need to create opportunities for reducing inequalities and including people that are from till this moment out of the market of opportunities. So I would like to give those companies, I'm here, I have some $1 billion of investment, by my right, by my left. It's not easy for those gentlemen to carry out their companies with this responsibility, all these venture capital at risk. A challenge for any investor, but I've been watched by the end of the previous panel. I've witnessed the statement that is very important. We won't have offer enough to the hydrogen demand in the world. So this is an assurance, an exceptional assurance for those investors to expect good results. It's been told here about the greatest transaction in Brazil. Mr. Marcelo Botelho is here, communicated us, firsthand, the acquisition from ArcelorMittal steel mill. That is important. To sum up, to the investors here I have by my side that already taken the decision to invest in our state, and now we need to do governance, not only in the governmental level, but in the Pecém port, in the port of Pecém complex level as well. Mrs. Duana knows those companies, those investors, they need attention, they need support, and they need agility. And we are structuring a team that is dedicated, that is capable to conduct the operations not only of a port, but deploying, but to make this port to be a case of development, and a port that will be one of the greatest hydrogen hubs in the world. We'll keep following up the companies to provide them the best support, the best attention possible. That's the commandment I have from Mrs. Isolda Sela, our state governor, so to embrace those who believe in us and to establish partnerships. And now I begin, I think it's been communicated, so we have 13 minutes for each one of the presenters. I would like to our staff to tell me about 2 minutes left. Now we'll start from the order in my agenda here. And our schedule, I will start with Guilherme Ricci, Business Director for White Martins, partner of the steel mill, and aligned with Linde, and also with this ArcelorMittal acquisition in Ceara. I would like to congratulate Fiec for the organization, and effectively, Ceara is a state that in the pole position of this process, making this region green hydrogen pole. So, Let me talk about our group, White Martins Linda. It's a group with 110 years of history, plenty of activity throughout the whole country. And Linda Group is present in the whole world, more than 100 countries. We work with more than thousands of employees, and we are in the market of oil and gas, and industrial gases, and present in the hydrogen chain for more than 100 years. And a very important pillar to have this hydrogen society is effectively to be engaged in initiatives boosting the hydrogen application. As this initiative here, as Fiec, we, as Linda and White Martins, we are present in the Hydrogen Council. For example, 4 years ago, it's a council formed by more than 300 CEOs from big companies, boosting and giving incentives to the hydrogen to be adopted as an alternative fuel. It's a very important pillar, so to make part of associations, groups, and ventures. And this is how White Martins can help towards energy transition. So in the production with electrolysis, we have hundreds of equipment deployed and operating around the world, storing renewable energy, either in hydrogen or other non-fossil fuel. We have examples of hydrogen caves where we operate. So we can store and avoid oscillation. So it's already it's been done with peak shave and can be done with hydrogen. And we have works with pipelines in the west coast of the United States. We have more than 1,000 kilometers of hydrogen pipes to connect the consumers and the providers, and hub stations for supplying with more than 200 stations in Europe and Asia. So the hub stations for supplying, capture and fixation of CO2 for even with fossil fuel, we shall be able to capture CO2 and store it, so freeing the atmosphere from emissions. And last but not least, the hydrogen is a very important raw matter. It can be used in various processes. How versatile hydrogen is. Well, talking about our infrastructure, we operate, we are the greatest producer of manufacture of equipments, and we work mostly with the gray hydrogen, more than 150 methane reformers, of steam reformers. And it's interesting that you can use the biomethane in this recomposition natural gas process. So we can make green hydrogen. This is possible. So Brazil has a great potential, as it has onshore and offshore wind power and solar and photovoltaic energy generation. We have a methane market that is huge, and that will be a factor for the successful transformation of the energy matrix. And we have more capacity here, and I call the attention. President Ricardo told us about a thing that is important. It's occurring in other countries as the liquefaction of the green hydrogen in order to put the matter in liquid state, and then we can transport it logistically with shipment, with road transportation. This is possible when we are expanding our capacity of liquefaction of the hydrogen, linking this process to the green hydrogen transition. Well, hydrogen is already a reality for us. We have more than 100 years operating hydrogen around the world, and only in Brazil we have more than 40 years. We produce on a daily basis, and we export hydrogen, and most of the cases gray hydrogen, but we're trying to reduce the carbon footprint in the scope 1, and also assessing an occasional conversion of our operations to the hydrogen, green or blue hydrogens. Well, I mention this because many companies, so this is an advantage here in Brazil, many companies are willing to enter the green hydrogen market, and it's fundamental. In more than 100 years operating hydrogen, so it has safety requirements, and lots of risks are involved, and Linde and White Martins is available to make up a standardization to deploy this market safely. I've brought here some cases regarding hydrogen. We have a park in Germany operating with hydrogen, totally connected to the grid and to some clients. And the second one, we have a project with Shell in Germany, Project Refine, 10 megawatt electrolyzer. And the last picture, in the right part, we operate electrolyzers. We deploy the equipment. It's one more equipment in this chain of green hydrogen transformation. So please give me a break here in terms of time. Just joking. Well, which are the markets we are trying to meet? Well, refining plants, replacing their fossil hydrogen with green hydrogen, steel milling. We have some MOUs and some NDAs signed with some clients of us, willing to insert themselves in this low-carbon fuel market. So green hydrogen, so clean hydrogen. Methanol as a fuel can be an important actor for some segments, can be useful either in Ceara, and we saw a great shipment company announcing the purchase of 10 ships moved running with green methanol. We have also the green ammonia, we have processes, we have technology. It's a lever for Brazil to enter the market in a quicker fashion. This is a flow chart to summarize, not complete but full of information. It's a summary of the operations of White and Martins Linde to make you aware that we are in the whole chain, since processing, purification, liquefaction, electrolyzers, our lorries, trucks for liquid transportation and gas transportation, partnership with trains and locomotives and wagons and ferry boats for hydrogen. So the great potential is, I think, it's not about exportation. I think our differential in Brazil will be the local market. Every and each one of these opportunities can be taken here. So we, again, I reiterate, we have decades operating this product, and it has some safety requirements, and one of the pillars is the technical standardization on the operations. And again, another important factor is the presence of the academia. The Federal University and others engaged will be very important to disseminate the idea and the new platforms for the hydrogen. So some cases, successful cases, trains running with hydrogen, so buses, bus stations in Germany, in Ireland, electrolyzers. We have a case on electrolyzers in Europe, working with the green hydrogen that is in Leona, and the other one that will be the bigger in the world, the biggest electrolyzer in the world, where you'll have the green hydrogen and its liquefaction. A ferry boat in Norway running with hydrogen. Toyota Mirai was a partnership with Toyota, and during May 22, running with White and Martin's hydrogen. The vehicle is electrical, so no combustion. It's a combustive cell. This will be the greatest factor to the entrance of this technology, the combustive cells, and the first plant of natural gas extraction in a natural gas pipeline, and you can produce here in Ceara and insert the gas in the pipeline, in the grid, in the gas grid, and then to get this gas in another point with molecular membranes with a proprietary technology by Linden, so you can get this hydrogen in another consumption point. It will accelerate and generate and increment the demand. Well, I think I fulfilled my time. Thank you very much. And by the end, we can have some Q&A. Thank you. Thank you, Guilherme. Thank you very much for your intervention. And I thank you how we've been received in München, in Germany. You saw a series of applications of this field that will be a north of the future, for the future. I would like to pass the floor to Gustavo, to Mr. Gustavo Silva, Operation Director, COO for Care Brazil, the French company operating in Brazil. Good afternoon. I wonder you're hungry. You know, we are in the lunchtime, etc. And well, our presentation is divided in 3 topics. I will introduce you Care, that is a relatively new company, and let me talk about the geopolitical movement creating opportunities for Brazil and for investors. And by the end of my presentation, I will show you our project. So Care is an independent producer of energy. Our business is to produce and commercialize energy, but we like to introduce ourselves as energy transition promoter. It's a theme, a very trending topic in these days. So Care is present in 17 countries. The last branch was Care from Scotland, after we've won a bidding of 2 gigawatts in Scotland. So Care works with renewable and alternative sources, offshore eolic, onshore eolic, wind power, onshore and offshore, and photovoltaic. Those 3 first ones are our generation core, small hydroelectrical, the waste to energy, W2E, and green hydrogen. Care has a headquarter here in Ceara, and we have a policy on social environmental policies, and we've chosen a building with a green label certification, so a certified building for our headquarters. This slide presents our portfolio. Care has a little bit more of 3 years of operation in Brazil and we have approximately 490 megawatts in process. And we have a solar project to enter, more than 100 to enter this year, and more than 430 megawatts to 2024. We have lots of projects under development, a portfolio of projects, and this portfolio will be a basis of energy for our green energy projects. And we are developing 2 green hydrogen projects in Brazil, one in the Pecém, the port of Pecém complex, and the second one in the state of Pernambuco. And talking about this geopolitical situation, basically we have 2 big movements boosting the development of hydrogen and the alternative sources. First one is a paradigm change. For example, to secure the supply, and that was from the second industrial revolution, presenting lots of issues from that time on, so negative impacts and climate instability, so with great externalities, causing an unequal distribution because the resources are located in different countries, so generating vulnerability amongst or between countries, owning the sources of the fossil fuel and the other ones that do not own nothing. And all this potentialized by the war between Russia and Ukraine. And this migration also for the human security and safety. So the priority is to promote the sustainable development in a more democratic fashion. So we focus on quality of life, and we base our participation in more renewable sources and a broadened use of green hydrogen. So it will cause greenhouse effects, emission reductions, and other consequences positive to the environment. And we aim to a more democratization, so between commas. So, but these opportunities are not so democratic because countries shall need the proper resources, and not everyone has access to funds. And also the compliance with the SDGs from the United Nations and some punctual instabilities. They do not disrupt the market, the financial market, hugely. This graphic here is very interesting because this graphic presents the potentiality of the countries for being importers and exporters of energy. These these countries in blue, these are the natural exporters. They produce more than they need, and so they export. And the red ones are importers, energy importers. Either United States and Europe, they are configured here as the greatest importers in the world. So they depend on energy and energy, in a broadened sense, electricity and other sources of heat for their industrial processes, with a great dependence on other countries. In the United States, a great part of their energy comes from Canada, and Europe features 40% of its energy coming from Russia. So there's a initial movement where Russia used it to provide 40% of the gas to Europe, and now Europe is being supplied in the last contracts. So by the United States, naturally, by its side, an importer. So despite the American plan is to achieve an self-sufficiency in terms of energy by next decade, but it's a temporary movement. So in Australia and Canada. So United States, Europe and Russia, so they are responsible for 70% of the global GDP. Anything happening to them causes a great impact in the world. And imagine all the three, so United States, Europe, and China, so they're passing through strategical movements, and the main drivers are global heating, global warming, that promotes the search for more low footprint resources, and then the COVID-19 impact showed us the dramatic dependence on energy and the demand crisis in the American market during the pandemic, and the government injected $3 trillion in the economy. And this money, when it enters, this money shall circulate. And this demand crisis in the United States impacts all the other economies. So it's a law of the offer and demand acting. We have a strategical repositioning also in the Chinese market, observing these energetical occurrences, talking about the war and also the impacts by the pandemic. So the Chinese started to reposition themselves, seeking for an energetical and food security towards the market of the future. There will be the re-engineering of their processes with low carbon footprint. And then there's the war between Russia and Ukraine, causing a general inflation over the fuel prices and also highlighting the dependence problem. So we have geopolitical implications either in the food production, either in energy supply, and everyone trying to seek food and fuel security. And it creates a unique opportunity to Brazil, because it will be necessary and it will be so new commercial relations with friends. If we remember that previous graphic, so United States and Europe, they have different sources of energy generation. So all of the countries are trying to seek for fellow countries. And we have projects for the short, medium, and long terms. In the short term, mainly with this oil reserves and natural gas within the Atlantic Basin. So we have an opportunity to Brazil to be a provider of choice for these countries who already running their green processes, and also our wind power resources, so with natural talent for great wind power generation and great green hydrogen generation. So in the medium and long term, we have the capacity to be one of the greatest players of green hydrogen to serve the North American market and with green hydrogen, because they shall need the source of energy. And talking about our projects, I will pass quickly because of time, for the sake of time. So we have 4 projects, ongoing projects. One in France, enter into force next year, 2 in Ireland and 2 in Brazil, each project with 2.2 megawatts capacity, and aiming to serve European, the Northern European and North American markets. And all this hydrogen should be commercialized, centralized by the Ceara headquarters in France. Here our two projects. Just to finalize, 1 minute to conclude. Well, here our plants producing blue and green hydrogen, and those will be raw matters for ammonia production. And they shall be transported to the destination port when we will be able to deliver ammonia or to do the cracking of ammonia into hydrogen. This is the concept note for our Suape port project. We have the concept note already done, ready made, and our project, the concept note of our project in Pecém port as well. The electrical energy for the green hydrogen production would come firstly from our plants, our portfolio, so the projects we've selected, either for hydrogen production, either for others. And this is a whole project, so hydrogen production and electrical energy production will demand 90 billion reais in terms of investment. So, and to wrap it up, we understand that in this scenario, hydrogen, this is a project that is extremely aligned with all the changes we are observing around the world. So we won't have enough offer to the demand forecasted. Ceara wants to be one of the greatest producers, because the first contracts will be the long-term contracts with the better prices. There's a trend to all this to become commodities. And we see Brazil as a very interesting market. But Brazil needs to do its homework, assembling a strategy to take advantage of this opportunity in various aspects: political, regulatory, infrastructural, and also financial, to leverage this industry. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, before we announce the third speaker, Luis Viga from Fiec. If you want to look into this whole story, this company today, Fiec, has great stories about starting small. Armando Abreu's story. More than 20 years ago, I was infrastructure secretary, and he said he was arriving in Ceara. And initially, as a consultant for these projects, he grew and grew, made this great partnership with this French company, and today they're in the game. We need courage. You need to be bold and daring. Credibility. There's a lot of money in the market, but we need more projects. Good projects with opportunities. I always say this because this dichotomy is what we see a lot in Ceara. I've seen this for like years and years. And there's only about 2,000 medium and large size companies in a universe of 600,000 companies. And so the economy is not only comprised of these 2,000 companies. In this energy market, we have great examples of those that, built from scratch, and today are major, respected investors. Care is an example, even small. One day you can be huge. Congratulations, I admire this company a lot. How you established yourself more than 20 years in Ceara, crossing the Atlantic, and today a major company. And so, everyone started small one day. Everyone started small one day. Many examples in Ceara, and those that want to be entrepreneurs, Ceara is the land of the new opportunity. And so, basically, 35 years of good governance, respecting capital, and that's what we did all of this time. Ceara is the results of good governance and good government and disruptive projects. Otherwise, we wouldn't be what we are today. And so, what differences exist between the states? 27 states in Brazil, and in Ceara, we have a huge quality. We're very resilient. We don't just, cry and ask for opportunities. We always try to improve our lives. That's what makes me believe in the state of Ceara. That's why I'm still contributing, because like everyone, we have dreams, to overcome our problems with inequality and poverty, companies prospering, and we're quite sure that we're on the right track towards the future. Those that are here, so that you can find here the right environment to prosper with business. Companies only go well when the bottom line is positive, and that's what we need. I mean, we cannot be hostile to capital. So, once again, you can bestow your trust on the state of Ceara, and CSP in the last 20 years has transformed a dream into reality, to have a steel mill in Ceara. Because the steel mill can transform quickly into a plant that uses green hydrogen, a plant that will sell green steel, which is the commodity that's going to take off in the market. So, my dear friends, this is a great day. Thank you so much in putting together this event. Thank you for the partnership. And now we're going to announce Luis Viga. I think he's already connected.
Só informando, o senhor Luiz Viga fez a participação dele gravada. Fazer gravado, ok?
Okay, it's a recorded statement. Luis is the Brazilian CEO of the fourth largest mining company in Australia, Fiec, and wants to be one of the major producers of green hydrogen, and 20,000 tons in supply of green hydrogen. This is one of the major companies, and today perhaps it's the most advanced project in development.
Bom dia a todos da Fiec, bom dia a todos do estado do Ceará. O meu nome é Luiz Viga, eu sou responsável pela Fortescue Future Industries no Brasil. É com grande prazer que eu participo desse evento tão relevante no Ceará e no Brasil, organizado pela Fiec, pelo excelentíssimo presidente Ricardo Cavalcante, Jurandir Picanso e também o governo, principalmente citando o secretário Maia Júnior. E também agradeço à governadora Isolda. Bom, eu vou falar um pouquinho para vocês hoje sobre a Fortescue, os planos no Brasil e principalmente no Ceará. Eu peço desculpas que não estou presente hoje com vocês. Eu estou numa viagem na Austrália, com um pouquinho de fuso horário diferente, mas espero aqui passar para vocês o sentimento da Fortescue no Brasil e porque a gente acredita tanto no projeto do Ceará e no sucesso dele e no que tem de bom assim para vir ainda para o Estado e para o Brasil. Obrigado. Nesse momento eu vou compartilhar uma apresentação com vocês. Bom, qual a agenda de hoje? Eu vou falar um pouquinho sobre a Fortescue e a FFI, vou falar sobre hidrogênio verde e tecnologia e vou falar sobre o Brasil como protagonista em hidrogênio verde. Eu gosto sempre de abrir apresentando a Fortescue, é uma empresa australiana e está começando operações no Brasil. É uma empresa que foi fundada em 2003 e uma empresa com track record de muito sucesso. É a quarta maior mineradora do mundo. Temos uma receita em 2021, no ano fiscal de 2021, de 22 bilhões de dólares, com 16 bilhões de dólares de lucro operacional, o que nos dá a credencial para fazer grandes investimentos em grandes projetos de escala relevante no mercado de hidrogênio verde. A mineração, que é o nosso core activity, vamos dizer, ou pelo menos era, a gente está mudando agora com essa transição, somos empresa de recursos renováveis e de energia, foi o nosso primeiro negócio e é o nosso negócio também que a gente quer descarbonizar até 2030. A Fortescue está na liderança global em termos de descarbonização. Ela é uma empresa hoje que tem um valor de mercado de aproximadamente 45 a 50 bilhões de dólares e a gente se orgulha em causar impactos sociais positivos nas comunidades onde a gente trabalha. Falando um pouquinho mais da Fortescue, falei da mineração, né? A FMG, vocês veem aí no centro da página, a Fortescue Future Industries, que é a nossa empresa de hidrogênio verde, a qual eu vou falar um pouquinho mais depois. E agora eu vou falar da Minderu, que é esse símbolo que vocês veem na esquerda, que é a Minderu Foundation. A Minderu Foundation é uma empresa, uma organização filantrópica, na verdade. É uma das mais ativas na Ásia e é motivo de orgulho para nós. Porque ela tem vários projetos, seja com crianças, com comunidades, na luta contra o câncer, na melhora dos nossos mares. Ela tem vários projetos e muito ativa para realmente causar impactos na comunidade. Então, no Brasil, a gente vai começar a procurar projetos que a gente possa se engajar mais e junto com a planta, né, a planta que a gente está passando agora pelos estudos da planta de hidrogênio, a gente quer trazer a Minderu para encontrar projetos de relevância social. É muito importante para a Fortescue ter um relacionamento bom com comunidades e atender e criar esse impacto que eu chamo de impacto positivo. É muito do nosso DNA. A gente tem uma vertente dentro da nossa empresa dedicada a isso. E falando agora de um braço financeiro, a gente tem a Tatarang, é uma empresa, um grupo privado de investimento, investimentos de bilhões de dólares, que atua em vários negócios, atua na pesca, na criação de salmão, gado, portos e outros investimentos. Então, essas 4 empresas fazem parte do grupo Fortescue. Desculpa. Bom, falando um pouquinho agora do hidrogênio verde, a Fortescue Future Industries, a empresa de hidrogênio verde, a nossa ambição é ser o líder global de hidrogênio verde. Hoje a gente colocou como target para 2030 15 milhões de toneladas de produção de hidrogênio verde. Isso dá uma capacidade enorme de gigawatts para produzir essa quantidade de hidrogênio verde, no qual vai ser feita globalmente. E o Brasil é um dos projetos que estamos estudando e que tem um grande potencial para realmente acontecer. Depois de 2030, estimamos entregar mais de 50 milhões de toneladas de hidrogênio verde. Isso são alguns Brasils de hidrogênio verde. A ambição é muito grande e a Fortescue ela tem um track record de entregar isso. A Fortescue, como eu disse, foi fundada em 2003 e desde lá tem sido a empresa de mineração que tem melhor performado na Bolsa Australiana e conseguiu um lugar que muitos diriam que era impossível, ser o 4º maior minerador do mundo, uma empresa que começou apenas em 2003. Nossa meta é descarbonizar o mundo com hidrogênio verde que utiliza água e energia renovável, quer dizer, sem emissão de carbono. Temos agora, principalmente nessa fase de estudos, financiamento próprio. Então, a Fortescue é a empresa que mais investe hoje no mundo e vou mostrar para vocês algumas coisas dos investimentos, alguns investimentos que a gente está fazendo em hidrogênio verde. E temos experiência em grandes projetos. Fundamos uma companhia em 2003 e hoje é a 4ª maior mineradora do mundo. A Fortescue é conhecida pela excelência na execução. Bom, pulando um pouquinho sobre a hidrogênio verde agora e a tecnologia, acredito que meus colegas já falaram bastante, então vou ser breve aqui, mas vou dar algumas mensagens que eu acredito que sejam chaves. Bom, o processo de hidrogênio verde, como foi falado, é um projeto que usa energias renováveis, aqui no Brasil, principalmente eólica, solar e água. Água que pode ser tanto de reuso, então existem estudos para usar água de esgoto que seriam tratadas em Fortaleza, né, e entregues no Porto do Pecém, ou então água de dessalinizadoras. Seriam projetos novos, no qual a gente dessalinizaria a água e não utilizaria a água que hoje é utilizada para o consumo das pessoas. São todos novos projetos. A gente não tira nada do que é existente. Na verdade, estamos construindo novos, tanto projetos de eólica e solar, todos são novos, são investimentos novos, vão trazer novos empregos, vão trazer nova energia para o Brasil, como a água também. Essa água a gente não vai estar tirando do consumo das pessoas, e sim a gente vai estar criando uma nova, ou reusando a água, que ambientalmente é algo, eu me sinto muito orgulhoso, de estar usando uma água suja para fazer isso, ou então de dessalinização, água do mar. Né? Então, criando aí essa fonte de água. Então, é tudo novo, são investimentos novos, o que é muito importante para nós. Passando dessa energia renovável à água, existe o processo de eletrólise, do qual separa o H2O, né? Separa o hidrogênio do oxigênio, transformamos, o nosso produto é o hidrogênio principal, transformamos ele em amônia, porque a amônia ela é utilizada para transporte globalmente, e a gente exporta para os mercados, principalmente europeu hoje, é o mercado target para Fortescue Future Industries. A gente acredita que o Brasil tem um potencial enorme ainda para consumir isso e temos interesse. Estamos começando a investigar quais seriam os interessados no Brasil. E existem muitos. Existem empresas de fertilizantes, existem empresas que querem descarbonizar as suas operações, sejam elas mineradoras, siderurgias, cimenteiras. Existe muita gente interessada Então, a gente acredita que vai vir numa segunda fase essa descarbonização do Brasil, né? Falando disso, temos a matriz renovável, uma das mais limpas do mundo. Então, é motivo de orgulho para o Brasil, para o Ceará e para o Nordeste, a nossa matriz. A gente tem uma matriz hoje de 80% a 85% de renováveis e o projeto Hidrogênio Verde só vem acrescentar isso. Bom, falando um pouquinho da Fortescue, e eu falando do que é a empresa, né, do que a gente passou essa transformação de uma empresa de mineração agora, que a gente chama uma empresa global de energia e recursos renováveis, eu falei para vocês que a Fortescue Future Industries é a empresa que mais investe em hidrogênio verde no mundo. E vou dar alguns números para vocês. Bom, começamos há 2, 3 anos atrás nesse caminho de hidrogênio verde e hoje somos mais de 800 pessoas no mundo trabalhando dedicadas a hidrogênio verde. Adquirimos várias empresas, uma delas vale a pena mencionar, a Williams Advanced Engineering. A Williams é a mesma Williams da Fórmula 1, então a gente pegou a tecnologia da Fórmula 1 e trouxe para a Fortescue Future Industries. Então temos 400 engenheiros que vieram nessa aquisição e estão trabalhando em projetos para a Fortescue Future Industries e para a Fortescue Metals também. Outro ponto muito relevante são as nossas parcerias. Já temos acordos, ou MOUs, né? Entendimentos para fornecimento de hidrogênio verde. Uma das empresas que vale a pena, aliás, todas aqui, muito importantes, eu vou mencionar primeiro a Ion. A Ion é uma das maiores transportadoras aí de gás ou de utilities na Alemanha e na Europa. E só eles assinamos aí um MOU para 5 milhões de toneladas de entrega de hidrogênio verde. Isso vai vir global, né? E espero o Brasil caminhando do jeito que está caminhando, conseguimos passar por toda a viabilidade do projeto, sermos parte importante dessa entrega do hidrogênio verde. Também menciono a Airbus, né? A empresa de aviação, no qual a Fortescue está estudando junto com eles as células de hidrogênio para aviação. A JCB, que é uma grande fabricante de equipamentos, junto com a Liber, são empresas enormes que também firmaram MOUs com a Fortescue para o fornecimento do hidrogênio verde. Então, é um mercado que a Fortescue, não só a produção de hidrogênio verde, esse aumento, essa quantidade de pessoas, essa aquisição, mas a gente também está fechando vários contratos ou frame agreements, ou MOUs, como a gente gosta de chamar, esses pré-contratos, né, para fornecer hidrogênio verde no mundo. Além disso, construímos junto com um joint venture, ou estamos construindo, na verdade, uma planta de eletrolisadores na Austrália. Então, é motivo de orgulho, já foi lançada a pedra fundamental, e é uma planta de 2 gigawatts hoje de eletrolisadores para a fabricação do próprio eletrolisador, do coração da planta de hidrogênio verde, e isso vai ser enviado aí para os nossos vários projetos no mundo. E além do mais, temos a tecnologia. Não somos só produtores de hidrogênio verde, mas a gente fomenta essa tecnologia de hidrogênio verde. Então, quais serão os consumidores? Então, a Fortescue desenvolveu caminhões de mineração a amônia verde. Temos projetos de teste de motores de navio movidos a amônia verde. Então, existe hoje um navio dentro da frota da Fortescue. A Fortescue, sendo uma mineradora, ela tem navios, trens, caminhões. Um dos navios que abastecem a nossa operação, ele hoje tem um motor já está funcionando a amônia verde. Trens movidos também, aí o Infinity Train, que a gente está estudando um trem elétrico, no qual vai ser utilizado também energia renovável, né? E ferro verde sem carbono, né? Isso aí a gente acredita que é um produto que vai ser demandado muito no futuro, de alto valor agregado. Estamos já fazendo testes para colocar isso em grande escala. e projetos de cimento verde. Então, a gente descarboniza as indústrias que têm uma grande dificuldade de descarbonizar, empresas de aço e de cimento. E toda essa tecnologia a Fortescue pretende oferecer no mercado. Então, voltando um pouquinho àquela frase, a Fortescue, além de ser produtora de hidrogênio, ela é uma grande empresa de tecnologia para fomentar a transição energética. Isso é muito importante. Bom, aqui uma foto aí do primeiro caminhão de mineração, aqueles caminhões fora de estrada, como a gente chama do Brasil, movido a amônia. Então, ele já foi testado, começa a trabalhar esse caminhão, um caminhão fora de estrada. Então, é muito orgulho, é o primeiro do mundo. Mostrando aí a força da Fortescue na tecnologia, não só na produção de hidrogênio verde, mas em toda a cadeia. Bom, falei um pouquinho para vocês, então, da Fortescue. Falei da nossa tecnologia, como a gente está trabalhando no hidrogênio verde, e agora vou ser um pouquinho mais específico. Falar para vocês o que a gente está fazendo no Brasil e especificamente no Ceará. Começando com o Brasil, porque o Brasil, a Fortescue vê o Brasil como líder mundial em hidrogênio verde. Bom, primeira coisa, temos recursos eólicos e solares abundantes em grande escala e com uma excelente qualidade. Isso nos credencia a fornecer energia barata para o mundo e para o Brasil. A grande vantagem hoje do hidrogênio verde, eu chamo do elo perdido, é que o hidrogênio verde ele traz esses recursos que a gente tem aqui no Brasil, eólicos e solares, a gente pode começar a exportar isso para o mundo. Então, a gente gera emprego no Brasil, gera desenvolvimento, traz riqueza e também fomenta e aumenta a capacidade da indústria nacional de fabricação dessas eólicas solares. Importante lembrar que todos os projetos da Fortescue de eólicas e solares são projetos novos. Então, a gente não está retirando energia do grid, e sim acrescentando energia. Bem também com a água, como foi mencionado. No Brasil, a gente tem uma indústria renovável sofisticada. Né? Acho que é um dos grandes casos de sucesso no Brasil, no qual a gente tem um sistema regulatório robusto e aprimorado, grandes geradores e fabricantes de equipamento no Brasil, né? Grandes geradores de energia. Todos os maiores do mundo estão presentes aqui, estão trabalhando bem, desenvolveram muito principalmente a solar e a eólica nos últimos 10 anos. E temos o mercado livre de energia pujante também, que nos ajuda a fornecer energia, ou comercialização de energia para o grid e para o hidrogênio verde. O Brasil tem essa grande vantagem, no qual existe uma abundância de energia que ainda não foi desenvolvida e pode ser desenvolvida para o hidrogênio verde. Temos o Sistema Interligado Nacional. É muito importante essa infraestrutura toda ligada, né, do Brasil interligado, de conexão. Então, você produz uma energia no Mato Grosso, você consegue entregar, por exemplo, no Ceará, ou do Ceará para o Sul, que seja. Então, isso é muito importante, porque dá flexibilidade ao sistema e você ganha escala também, porque você não necessariamente precisa de um projeto do lado da sua planta. Infraestrutura portuária. Temos, sim, bons portos aqui no Brasil. O SWAP, PCM é um deles. Existe o SWAP também, Itaqui e outros portos. Mas PCM é um dos exemplos de portos, assim, portos de sucesso no Brasil. Bom, falando um pouquinho de benefícios ao Ceará e ao Brasil, primeiro eu gosto de chamar o Brasil como protagonista na descarbonização do mundo. A gente vai estar ajudando a Europa a descarbonizar, por exemplo, toda a sua matriz energética e exportando o nosso hidrogênio verde, e com isso trazendo riqueza para o Brasil e tecnologia também. Milhares de empregos, principalmente no Nordeste, durante toda a construção, operação desses parques. Então, a gente entende que essa indústria vai ser realmente uma das maiores nos próximos anos no acréscimo de emprego. parcerias tecnológicas e com universidades. Então, estamos estudando com a Universidade Federal do Ceará algumas parcerias. É possível redução na dependência de fertilizantes importados. Hoje o Brasil importa algo entre torno, mais ou menos 85% dos fertilizantes. Os fertilizantes, é claro, todos sabem, são utilizados na nossa agricultura, na agropecuária. Então, hoje essa importação nos está custando caro, devido a todos os problemas aí acontecendo no mundo, a guerra na Europa. Esses preços aumentaram muito, eles estão escassos, alguns países não estão mais exportando, querem manter essa reserva de fertilizantes. Então, o hidrogênio verde, transformado numa amônia verde, que pode ser transformado em fertilizantes nitrogenados, eles podem reduzir essa dependência e, com isso, o alimento aqui ser mais competitivo, ter um custo menor de produção, o que traz não só benefícios para o Brasil, em termos aqui do custo no nosso dia a dia, mas também oportunidades para exportarmos mais ainda e trazermos mais riqueza para o Brasil e gerar trabalhos. Existe um plano hoje, lançado pelo governo federal, para reduzir de 85% essa importação de fertilizantes para 40%, acredito, entre 40% e 45%. Então, reduzir aí a metade. E o hidrogênio verde pode sim ser um grande vetor dessa mudança. Produtores, um outro item, eu mencionei um pouquinho produtores verdes, né, de maior valor agregado, produtos verdes, desculpe, como o aço verde, né, Vale, CSN podem estar explorando isso, cimento verde e etc. São as empresas aí, as indústrias difíceis de descarbonizar, que têm grandes oportunidades de encontrar produtos de maior valor agregado, que são os produtos verdes, aqueles que não contribuíram para o aquecimento global. Esses produtos, sim, na nossa visão, a gente acredita, e está acontecendo muito, na Europa está acontecendo muito, eles são cada vez mais, os consumidores estão demandando isso. E, finalmente, acho muito importante mencionar, a gente criou um novo pulmão de energias renováveis. Como eu falei, são projetos eólicos e solares novos. Então, esses projetos hoje estão produzindo energia verde, né, o hidrogênio verde. Agora, numa crise energética, uma seca, o que seja, esses projetos podem produzir energia para o grid e ajudar a manter o nosso custo de energia no Brasil mais barato. Então, são oportunidades não só produzir o hidrogênio verde, mas energia verde em caso de necessidade do país. E isso afeta a todos nós, o custo, a energia está em tudo que a gente consome. Bom, falando um pouquinho sobre o modelo operacional da FFI, né? Então, temos a aquisição de energia renovável, de várias formas, eólica e solares, principalmente. Uma planta de hidrogênio, hoje a planta de hidrogênio e amônia verde no PCM. E o primeiro estágio é uma exportação, porque o mercado europeu é o primeiro que está demandando isso. A gente acredita que no Brasil, com o avanço no Brasil, vai existir demanda para esse produto hidrogênio verde, e o que a gente já está fazendo, já preparando toda a estrutura de fornecimento para quando esse mercado aqui no Brasil começar a solicitar realmente compra de hidrogênio verde. E existem muitos interessados. Uma coisa muito interessante ou importante a gente mencionar, e parabéns ao PCM, ao governo do Ceará, é que assinamos o primeiro pré-contrato no Brasil de grande escala de hidrogênio verde. Então, começamos com um MOU com o governo do estado do Ceará, com o Porto do PCM, e agora avançamos para um pré-contrato para continuarmos os estudos de viabilidade da planta. Esse é o primeiro, então somos muito orgulhosos disso e espero aí que venham muitos mais atrás desse.
Procurando acelerar, vou passar aqui agora a palavra ao Mark, né, da Transhydrogen, outro grande projeto. Esse é um projeto de armazenagem de amônia. É uma empresa que me impressiona muito pelo conhecimento, né, da equipe. Eu acho que eles têm profundo conhecimento da questão da amônia, e o Mark, eu acho que vai trazer aí grandes contribuições. É uma empresa de capital holandês, de Singapura, inglês e de capital americano. Muito me impressionou quando visitei essa empresa lá em Roterdã no ano passado.
3 minutes or 13 minutes? Well, anyway, good afternoon, everyone. I am British, for those of you that do not know me. I've been living here in Brazil now for 15 years, and 5 of these years in Ceara. That's why to be here today is part of my destiny. It's a great pleasure to be here representing Trans Hydrogen Alliance, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our projects in about 13 minutes, I hope. First, I would like to congratulate the organizers of the event. Really a spectacular event in terms of the attendance. Really shows the huge interest there is today in green hydrogen. And so really, we're always talking about green hydrogen, but our group is more geared towards green ammonia for many of the reasons that we've heard here from our previous speakers, starting with exports to Europe. But before all of that, I would like to quote Albert Einstein about what we're really doing here today. And he says, who has the privilege of knowing has the duty of acting, of doing something. And I think that's the moment we're going through now, you know. We are converting this knowledge into action. And this is not only for Ceara, but for all of Brazil. All of us have this obligation to do something to improve the situation of the planet. Starting this whole story with Ceara in terms of green hydrogen and ammonia, in March 2021, when we really had this first contact. Sometime after our friends from Energix arrived, and then we got in touch. And we went through a whole process, signing MOUs with the Port of Pecém. And this picture was in Rotterdam. Some of the main players that are here today, some stakeholders. This was the signing of the MOU with former Governor Camilo Santana. And from here on, you can see in our roadmap, we've met many of our objectives. We have a target now to get to a preliminary agreement on renewables. I mean, we're getting ready to do most of this work still September. And with this process, we'll reach a final decision for investments next year. As you know, investments involve an entire process. You can't skip steps along the way, but this timeline, the schedule, has been designed for us to be able to implement the first phase of production, our initial plant, for 2026. So who is Trans-Hydrogen Alliance? I'm sure everybody's asking themselves. Basically, it's an alliance of 4 companies. Proton Ventures, a Dutch company, specialized in engineering and has vast experience, especially with ammonia. GES, Global Energy Storage, and they are specialists in storage and tanking and logistics for ammonia and other products as well. We have Tramo, and now perhaps you're starting to understand why we're talking so much about ammonia. Tramo is the largest commercial company of ammonia in the world currently. And at the end, we have a company called Varo, which is actually a joint venture and also is a U.S. investor, apparently. Now, I think the major advantage that we have, and we've heard many here talking about business models and the importance of these business models, is that we are seeking to optimize the entire value chain. You know, an agreement with those that work with renewables, those that have expertise in the production of green hydrogen and conversion ammonia. There's a group who is comprised of specialists in logistics and exports. Tramo, for example, has a fleet of vessels. Not only do they commercialize ammonia, but also they're part of the transport and logistics. And as I'm going to explain briefly, we have a terminal that we're building in Rotterdam where we're going to receive ammonia and decomposition into hydrogen once again if necessary. And at the end of this whole chain, we have Varo, which is a company that has operations in Europe, including refineries in Germany and Switzerland. They're really one of the market leaders. It's the final client who wants to work with green hydrogen. Our project here in Ceara has different phases. Basically, we'll be really starting in 2026 with an estimated production of 120,000 tons of green ammonia, and we're expecting to reach 1 million tons by 2030. Now, including investments in terminals, we're talking about investments in the order of $2 billion without considering part of renewable energy. Now, the project itself, I mean, we've come up with the first conceptual design. We have the location in Pecém, in the ZPE. We have plans to use alkaline electrolyzers. We're trying to maximize productivity of the plant. And we're studying in parallel a project to implement our own port infrastructure for the storage and export of ammonia, of green ammonia. And also, we've been having talks about the issue of the connection with the grid, etc., and water supply. So, in parallel to all of this, like we've heard before, I'm not going to get into the details here, but at the end of last year, we acquired a Stargate terminal in Rotterdam, and we're going through a whole process now. And with this investment decision for the next year, we're expecting to have the terminal up and running in Rotterdam to receive ammonia in 2026. And in parallel, we've been having talks with Pecém about the possibility of building a terminal here in Pecém as well, with a vessel loading system that could be more flexible, let's say. I mean, you have 1 minute left. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, so on that note, within my 13 minutes, yeah, congratulations. Thank you. Well, because of our delays, I'd like to invite Italo, who's VP of Innovation and New Business at IAS, a U.S. company very well known in the energy market. You have the floor, sir.
What my fellow panelists said, just I would like to show you who is us, who is AES. We've been working for more than 30 years. We own Eletropaulo and Uruguaiana and other companies. And today we dedicate ourselves to these renewable energy strategies, as well as we are focusing in very strategical markets. Because, you know, operating in several markets brings extra complexity to the investors. And we work mainly with the stock market in the United States, so we've been reducing in the last 10 years the complexity of our investments, and so we've added value, stock markets raised with this new strategical approach. Another line we work with is innovation, and just to give you an idea, we've been the first players entering into the one lithium battery or similar solutions, what resulted in a carve-out or a spin-off, I would say, of Fluence, that is an association with Siemens rivalizing with Tesla. It's called Fluence. And another great innovations like motor and mobility, electric. Uplight, one of the greatest energy techs from the United States, recently put in the New York stock market, NASDAQ, sorry, and 5B, a startup, very interesting, and that manufactures folded solar panels. In less than 1 month, you can install these folded solar panels, and it's just like plug and play. And this is a communication for the world market, so we have too much charcoal-based plants, well, by 2025, so that is very close target. And in Europe, we're about to close all our charcoal plants, and obviously for this we need to sit down with the governments, and the solutions that can be done to these charcoal plants are my field of work. I didn't present myself, but I'm vice president for international issues. Well, I'm like an expatriate, digital expatriate. I am based in Brazil, but virtually I'm everywhere. And the idea is we're investing in this melted salt technology, converting charcoal in plants. So please Google it, this melted salt. And we have a team for hydrogen. We have a series of projects under development. We divided the world, in two parts, producers and consumers. Although in the United States we are reviewing the production because we have a governmental program paying $3 for hydrogen for a certain unit of measure of hydrogen. And clearly Latin America is a great hydrogen producer, and many people told before me that Ceara, if I can put Ceara, well, if I can compare Ceara with other players in Latin America, so Chile is clearly ahead in the first place, but Ceara is following closely, and then we have Guajira in Colombia and also Mexico, but it's uncertain because of political issues. But, well, let me leap to this next slide. Here I see ammonia industry coming with full throttle, so it's a pathway of no return, but we need to hold our horses. So the question is it hype or is it hope? And I see lots of projects and around the world. I witness myself. But the first challenge for Brazil is to understand what green hydrogen is, because if we know, we have projects of $12 a kilogram, and other ones $1 to $2 a kilogram of hydrogen. So if we take into consideration the understanding from Germany, from Japan, from Australia, so countries, they approach this, they understand this differently. And we are trying to unify this understanding on green hydrogen. So in Europe, we have PTX, and with a consultancy trying to promote this common understanding of what green hydrogen is. If I state green hydrogen is, and it's a clause in the regulations from the European Union, as only additional and new. That's the additionality concept. And if it's additional, forget about all the hydroelectrical in Brazil. So any hydroelectrical plant won't be considered green hydrogen. All the wind farms will not be taken into account. So we need to understand, first of all, and as Mark said, it is a process, a sequence of feasibility and assessment for each project. For example, I wouldn't like to nominate any country, but if in a certain country, so you'll have an electrolysis plant for 4 gigawatts, and you put renewable energy 4 gigawatts, so you're taking and you're giving, and it's green, and the prices will be lower. But if you have exchange of energy, so the base risk or the shape risk, taking those into account, you make a combination between sources of energy. So you bring with this some benefits that would make energy cheaper for production. So our colleague from Bloomberg NEF brought a graphic that's showing that energy, green hydrogen in the next years, energy will be the main driver for the final price of the hydrogen. And energy is not only about the megawatt hour or LCOE, it's about the combination, the composition of energy. And what is that? What is the ratio or the negative correlation or ratio between solar and wind powers? Is there some deliverable energy depends on in the hydroelectric that sometimes is not deliverable? So this composition of energies, it would assure the price, the final price of hydrogen. We have a project in Chile, we have a project in Brazil, and we see different situations through countries. So just to give you an idea, Chile will be for sure one of the greatest hydrogen players. But now, today, Chile is just a small strip in the map. So they have no complementarity between wind power and solar power. So this is convene at risk. So the prices get lower during the day, but that doesn't make sense. And the cost of electricization is too high. In Brazil, we have solar and wind power. So nighttime wind, the so-called nighttime wind, and solar during the day. So the Brazil has the capacity with its national grid to make our abilities of commercialization, energy, project management skills will be extremely important for our hydrogen to be more competitive. So I have only 2 minutes. I don't know if I will beat Mark in terms of compliance with time, but well, the industrial process point of view from our colleague Guilherme Ricci from White and Martin. So the main driver for the cost will be the electrolyzer, so the greatest challenge. So, and sometimes we say, let the Chinese enter, and they are already entering, and maybe they will change the game. But we have great producers of electrolyzers in Germany. We have NEO and others in Europe, in the United States as well. So, fellas, just to wrap up, but Brazil has its specific challenges, okay? Just to give you an idea, we have the ruling of bidding in Germany, so no subsidies allowed. So forget 2G, for example, that they count on 2G because they are self-sufficient, because they've applied the project before 2022. So it's about, it's not about that. It's raw thinking. So, and also the taxation. Great challenge in Brazil with the so-called ICMS, how to manage the Brazilian ICMS if you don't have enough energy for a project of 4 gigawatts. And the rules for the electrical sector, they shall adapt to situation. Who are the players who would support the robustness of the transmission lines? Would be the entrepreneurs, would be the people when the system, when government runs the biddings? Well, lots of questions, food for thought. So excellent presentation from my fellow panelists. But we need to put the foot on the ground. That's my contribution for the event. Understand each pragmatic problem and address one by one, because we have lots to address until we can put Ceara and Brazil in a position that can be competitive against Saudi Arabia and Chile. Well, Italo, I would put 1 minute for your final remarks. So 1 minute. That's it, Mr. Maia. I won't be long, and I won't be. I wouldn't like to assume the role of the pessimistic, realistic, pragmatic lecturer. I'm just in the position of a developer that knows the electrical sector from Brazil and from abroad. And I may say that it won't be easy. We have naturally world-wide competition for so who's going to be the most competitive hydrogen. I don't know if Bloomberg and EF has this information, but I think it's Neon from Saudi Arabia. Neon, we don't know if Neon with all the subsidies so if it will be enabled for Germany. Well, final message, Ceará will be launched like a rocket, so the whole northeastern region will get into the space in terms of results, but we need to adapt the models. We need to address all the baseline products, if we have off-taken or not, call in the banks and the bankers, to the proper fund, 100% private equity, 70-30. What would be the off-taken, would you consider? An off-taken to resell the hydrogen? Well, so all these questions are matters that any and all developers within the hydrogen chain, we need to put our feet on the ground and address one by one, because otherwise we would be only cherishing Brazil by its nice qualities, nice promises. But we have experiences in other programs from the past, and I think we need to take it into account. Thank you very much for your attention. Well, I would pass the floor to Mr. Mark. We've had cut the final remarks from Fortescue. Well, Mark, have the floor. Oh, quickly, I think I agree with the comments, the last comments here from our fellow Italo. We have lots of issues to address. Well, I talked about the project, but I didn't talk about all these issues of our environment, but it doesn't mean they're not important. And, we need to consider the off-taker, and that's a paramount to make all the chain viable. Now, Guilherme Ricci from White Martins / Linde. Well, thank you very much. We understand Linde and White Martins, most of all here we have 100 years resilience, lots of economic cycles, and we are, firm in this purpose. Hydrogen will be a product for exporting, for local consumption, and we are ready to help clients, vendors, distributors. So that's our journey from now on. Thank you. Well, thank you, Gustavo. Now, well, thank you, Mr. Maia. I would like to thank you for the kind invitation. And I agree with everything that's been said. Together with an opportunity, we have always great challenges, not only by the technical perspective, but mainly by the political perspective, regulatory and infrastructure perspectives. So, this world movement for transition, energetic transition for renewable sources. So we will need a very well-structured plan for the whole country. Without this, the process will be very difficult to us. Well, the energetic transition in the future will be performed amongst companies, but also amongst countries. And we have, in a certain way, myself, I work with renewable energies since 1997, but CARE as a new entrant. And we've experienced these same challenges with solar and with wind. When we started with wind power, when I started, it was only an academic matter, just a promise, but now it's a reality, and hydrogen will be as well. But in terms of time, it depends on this infrastructuring, this holistic infrastructure. Now, we are competing differently with hydrogen, differently from the way we compete on solar and wind powers. With hydrogen, we will compete with the world market, and we need to adapt our infrastructure in order to be competitive in this world environment. Thank you. Dr. Carlos, I think, well, letting alone the excess of Fort skill, I tried to fulfill the schedule, straightforwardly. I agree, and I can't say that I agree with everything, because it's a brand new world. And we started to study this in Ceara in 2019. In these 3 years, I think Rosiana and our teams can give us an idea of the speed of this process. I think these pains of the market, they tend to dilute because of the ratio between offer and demand. And in this speed, we have a market, a demand, and if the offer is lower than the demand, we'll have entrants to take the risk, the venturers, that is the ordinary procedure. Or, on the other hand, we'll have pressures for regulations that is complex, as stated here, because, many countries, many continents run in this industry. And obviously, you won't get a quick standardization with so many differences and different concepts. But there's a concern of mine I would like to share. that is this oil and gas industry. This oil and gas industry won't make it easy. They won't grant this political and economic power. They will use all the means possible to make oil and gas lifespan, longer, as longer as possible. And there's a tug of war, and one of the reasons of many miseries in this world in the last 100 years. If it was easy, so an event like this would not be necessary, almost 2,000 people. And we are here discussing to find places where we converge together. And talking about ventures, and so the investors, they will know how to pricify the risks, and it will happen as usual. And I wrap up saying, once again, thanking the investors that trusted this project, that is from Fiec, from our academia, and from the government of the state of Ceara. I would like to say to all the players in the market that regardless political issues, we are united in the state of Ceara to make those projects feasible, offering the best guarantees, best security and the best governance for these projects deployment. And Rosiana struggled with me a lot. So she and I, because I've been learning all these years that I've been listening, been hearing from people that government is always the part that delays the project. And with the port of Pecém, for example, and we've had two parts, two columns, so the refining plant, we are waiting for Petrobras, and other column was the port of Pecém. I hope we can have these refining plant, and it shall be totally private. That I, believe much more than the public. Well, and the steel mill, it was planned to 2002, and it started to run 14 years later. So the private sector fulfilled their promises. I'm stating this because amongst the numerous pressures I received from the investors is that these infrastructures, these Pecém port infrastructures, to meet the demands, they need to arrive. They need to arrive by the same time in terms of timeline, equally ready to work by 2026. But for this, I need the companies to establish internally some areas. Well, I think some people asked me about the state buying more land, but we have 50% of the area occupied, and many companies, please approach Mrs. Duna Uribe to make your reservations of your lots. Because there's a saying in Brazil, so who arrives earlier drinks the best quality water. And I can't talk an area, reserved area, well, practically an area that is linked, and it's near to the shore, where you have the warehouses, all the closest area near the warehouses, the piers are already reserved. I don't have, for example, room for more tankage, for example, tanking area, for example. The areas closest to the port are, bottom line, almost every lot occupied. And all this to say that the companies, please, make more agile your reservations of your lots to secure the areas according to the necessities for each project, for us to advance. And why this? Because normally the state suffers pressures from the investors, but I need to know the needs of each company entering the process, because I have a partner, I have a board of directors, I have an international partner that won't authorize investments, for example, for a new pier for the green hydrogen, if this investment shall not return. And all this to say that if I don't have numbers about the companies and about the lots and about the areas reserved, I need these numbers to know about the cargo I will handle in the next year. So please, I would like to raise awareness on all of you, investors, companies. We are all available, and the persons of Mr. Danilo Serpa and my secretary, Rosiana, to help you to sketch the projects in the proper area, in the industrial area for the companies. We are available to serve the companies, but we need to sit together, to work together, because from now to 2026, you know, it's almost tomorrow. I've been invited in December 2016, after 11 years out of the government, and I assumed in 2017 to, you know, for 2 years, and I am completing more than 5 years, and it's been like just a blow. And you know, from now to 2026, 26 is tomorrow, and I would like to reiterate our availability to receive you, to sit together, and Dr. Monica in her speech said the best news for me, that Ceara will get large. So Ceara is going large. And
Doutor Maia, muito obrigado. Os palestrantes também.
Fiec Summit 2022 by Fiec.